Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Flooding is one of the most expensive and most frequent natural disasters in the United States. As we look to invest in our nation's infrastructure for the 21st century, we need to ensure that our investments are protected from the challenges that lie ahead. In New Jersey, we're leveraging federal resources from community development block grants to build state-of-the-art resilient infrastructure like Hoboken's Rebuild by Design project, a $230 million mitigation initiative, which I helped secure funding for, and will help alleviate repetitive flooding and protect against damage from storm surges. Dr. Shafizadeh, as Congress looks to enact historic infrastructure legislation, shouldn't we be investing in more flood-resilient projects through programs like CDBG-DR to ensure that our investments in infrastructure last for years to come?
Thank you very much, Senator, for the great question. I believe that the project in New Jersey is a very good model because it took a multi-hazard view to the issue and had a long-term view. And it took a look at a whole host of solutions, both hard solutions to nature-based solutions to improving the capacities of the cities itself. And related to flooding issues, we currently have a lot of problems from flooding to our infrastructure. Around 57% of 1,948 bridge collapses that are recorded in the US have been related to hydraulic problems, where flooding and scouring are the major drivers there. So they have been putting a lot of pressure on our infrastructure, and we anticipate that these stresses are going to continue to increase. Under very mild climate projections, it is estimated that 66,000 of our bridges are going to be vulnerable to increased peak flow rates. And that would cost, addressing the vulnerabilities would cost somewhere between 140 to over $200 billion. And that is just vulnerability due to increased peak flow. And that also applies to many other built environment that we have. For example, the power grid, telecommunication, and hospitals in coastal areas. But the good news is that the benefit to cost ratio of taking actions is very high. Studies have shown that retrofitting existing buildings with some common retrofit measures in coastal areas has a benefit to cost ratio of 4 to 1. And applying these measures to buildings where benefit to cost ratio is above 1 would cost somewhere around $500 billion, but the benefits, estimated benefits, is over $2.2 trillion. So
very good. So I'd say the answer to my question is yes, based upon what you said, right? Investing in flood resilience projects makes a lot of sense. Okay, let me turn to Dr. Cletus. In 2012, Superstorm Sandy devastated New Jersey's coastline in the greatest natural disaster in our state's history. It caused billions of dollars in damage. It took lives, including some sustained damage to home values. Sea levels continue to rise at alarming rates, exacerbating the potential damage from major storms like Sandy, as well as some more common rainfall events. As climate hazards continue to grow, this inevitably endangers the cornerstone of wealth building for so many American families, which is their home value. If, due to climate change, these homes become uninsurable and unmarketable, the value of these homes and the wealth of homeowners is at risk. So, Dr. Cletus, without bold action to mitigate the effects of climate change, do you expect coastal homes and homes facing other climate risks to lose value relative to the balances of homeowners' mortgages, causing those mortgages to become financially underwater?
There's no question that we have billions of dollars of real estate along our coastline, including in New Jersey, that are at risk of chronic inundation well within the lifetime of a 30-year mortgage issued today. And we've seen the leading edge of some of these challenges already in many coastal communities, including places like Ocean City and Cape May, Monmouth Beach in New Jersey, Atlantic City. But right now, the market is not pricing this risk adequately. And my sincere worry and concern is that when the market moves, the adjustment can be very harsh and abrupt, and it will really hurt fixed income and low income folks for whom their home is their single biggest asset. I urge policymakers to get out ahead of this problem, make the kinds of investments that will make communities, homeowners more climate resilient. And it's not just about individual homes and homeowners. This is the property tax base of these communities. This is linked to our mortgage market. This is linked to many of our retirement portfolios that include real estate. The reverberations are wide for our economy. We don't know what can trigger this. It can be an extreme weather event, change in insurance rates, policies, but the physical risk is real. Climate projections show that the physical risk is increasing due to accelerating climate change. So let's implement the policies ahead of time that will safeguard communities and their financial well-being.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, would you indulge me in one other question? Of course. Thank you. Mr. Nutter, as we continue to pursue major infrastructure legislation, including investments to mitigate the impacts of climate change, we need to ensure that this funding finds its way to where it is most needed, like those communities facing outsized climate risks, as well as those that have historically been underserved, from our low-income urban communities to our rural communities and environmental justice communities. How can a data-driven approach guide our policy decisions here in Washington to ensure that our federal investments have the maximum impact while reaching the communities that are most in need?
Senator Menendez, thank you for your question and your comment. We have promoted the idea that in this infrastructure package, the Congress should include a proposal to identify communities at risk and that are socially vulnerable by using the National Risk Index, which is a FEMA-prepared product that provides a number of factors related to community vulnerability and social vulnerability, and allow the local communities, consistent with your point earlier, to make decisions about what kind of investments would be appropriate in those communities to make them more resilient and protect the communities and the homeowners that are there by using federally taxable as well as tax-exempt obligations and tax credits that would draw both public sector investment but also private sector investment. We look forward to working with you and your staff to include it in an infrastructure package. We think it does a lot to help draw additional resources to protect these communities and protect the homes and the homeowners that are there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing is for coastal states like my own, although not only coastal states, but for coastal states like my own. This hearing is incredibly important to understand some of the challenges we have and some of the policy opportunities I hope we can pursue. Thank you for.
Of course. Thank you.